Remember sitting in front of your TV, bored out of your mind, waiting for Codename Kids Next Door to come back on because you are being forced to watch the All About Trains and the Shirley Temple 4 billion disc collection commercials to end? When all of a sudden...
Star Wars is recognized worldwide for a lot of different things, from how the movies changed absolutely everything with film, to how the toys and they're produced, and even setting a bunch of different trends. But Jacob and I aren't here to talk about that today, but rather something that we hold very near and dear to us as Star Wars fans, and that is the commercials.
The people in this crowd will soon be among almost 40,000 who have seen a new science fiction movie at North Park Cinema 2. The movie is called Star Wars, and since it opened here 9 days ago, capacity crowds have filled the 1,100 seats in the theater almost daily. In only 9 days, Star Wars has grossed more money than any movie in Dallas history.
When Star Wars A New Hope released in May of 1977, it took the world by storm. Kids and adults alike were obsessed with the movie, and you could not talk to a single person without hearing Star Wars in that conversation at the time. But with its rapid rise in popularity, meant that Lucasfilm needed toys and fast.
Star Wars figures. R2-D2. Chewbacca, Luke, and Princess Leia. They're the Star Wars Early Bird set of figures. These action figures are not yet available, but this Star Wars Early Bird certificate package is in stores.
To compensate for Kenner's very late release of its action figures, Lucasfilm decided that it needed to go another route. They ended up slapping the Star Wars brand on all sorts of everyday items. You're talking toothbrushes and lunchboxes, and even sometimes pre-existing toys were just rebranded and the Star Wars logo put on it just so it could sell. And boy, did that work. But to let people know that they could now buy these toys and crazy products, they needed fun commercials to accompany them.
Star Wars continued to stay on top, not just because of the name, but because of creative commercials. As time went on and television graphics got better and the budgets got bigger, you went from this.
From Kenner's Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back collection, it's Millennium Falcon that you put together. Batteries not included.
Nice landing, Han Solo. Uh-oh, come on, Chewbacca. Stormtroopers are coming.
Action figures each sold separately.
To this.
We wanted to dedicate this video to revisiting the wide assortment of Star Wars commercials that exist since 1977 all the way to our present time, because they're just so memorable and we love them so much.
We also want to preface that these commercials are not going to be focused on the Star Wars movie trailers themselves. We're going for the more creative and the more fun aspects of products and video games and things like that we were seeing on television. Big corporations started to notice all this flow of money towards the Star Wars name. They couldn't handle it. They wanted a piece of the pie to themselves. And it was only a matter of time until they got in on it, which led to some really funny, hilarious, and bad brand partnerships.
When Star Wars The Phantom Menace came out in 1999, it had been a 16-year-long hiatus since Return of the Jedi was in theaters. So when Lucasfilm came out with this movie, they needed something very, very impactful for people to come and see the next film. So Pepsi had partnered with them, thinking that they had the greatest idea in the world. They thought that their idea was fresh, it was new, it was funk, it was going to be hip with the kids. It was Marfalump?
A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away.
A four-armed basement-dwelling nerdy alien, which Pepsi clearly thought was the main demographic watching the Star Wars movies, was born into the campaign as the lead for The Phantom Menace. Now, this alien was supposed to be promoting to watch the movie, as it was super excited in all of its commercials to talk about Star Wars. And I'm pretty sure in one of them too, he invites this girl over and she leaves purely because she's just too nerded out by how obsessed he is with The Phantom Menace. This is truly one of the strangest campaigns that we have ever seen for a Star Wars project. And maybe it was the first time a big industry wanted to call out its fandom and do something funny to kind of like poke fun at it. But I have no idea what the Pepsi team was even thinking. It's just so weird. Like Darth Maul, Marfalump would come into this world with the Phantom Menace and leave it the same way, since he would only be around for the Phantom Menace campaign, and it received so much negative attention that he would never return and his name would be wiped from the face of the planet. And the only way that you might know about Marfalump now is from the deepest corners of the Star Wars fandom, or if you just so happen to click this video or see a random Marfalump ad pop up on your browser at some point.
You might think Pepsi would have maybe put down Marfalump after its 1999 failure, but the Pepsi company wanted to try again, but this time with a different drink. In 2012, right before Disney purchased Star Wars, Lucasfilm wanted to release all 6 films back in the theaters in 3D. Brisk was the beverage picked for these commercials, and it did not disappoint. These commercials featured conversations between Darth Maul and Yoda with comically large heads to their smaller, tiny proportioned bodies, and it was an absolute joy. For Jax and I, these were the peak of comedy growing up. These were our favorite Star Wars commercials. And with parents that did not let us drink soda, we felt left out of the Brisk Star Wars fun. Until one day I was at a gas station and I tried Brisk and I realized that actually wasn't that good. And I kind of felt let down about the whole thing, but that's besides the point. It's besides it.
Now, if you're sick of us talking about drink-related content,
we do not care.
Because some of the best branding in Star Wars really did come from drinks. This one wasn't available to an audience in the United States, but rather in Chile. And if you've been on the internet lately, you've probably seen the plethora of memes that has been put out about this brand. This specific product stood out the most because it was an alcoholic beverage. Now, Star Wars and Lucasfilm, and now with the transition to Disney, has typically stayed away from adult beverages, but maybe they were able to get around this because it wasn't in the United States.
These ads weren't on during the intermission of Star Wars reruns on TV, rather that they were mixed into the movie itself. Characters would be in the middle of an action when suddenly...
Star pilot in the galaxy, and a cunning warrior. I understand you've become quite a good pilot yourself. And he was a good friend. Which reminds me, I have something here for you. Your father wanted you to have this when you were old enough. Cerveza Cristal.
Cerveza Cristal. Or even like this.
Anakin, my allegiance is to the Republic, to democracy!
If you're not with me, then you're my enemy.
Only a Sith deals in absolutes. I will do what I must.
If I were living in Chile and I'd have only seen Star Wars on TV, then I might have been gaslit into thinking that Cerveza Cristal was a core element of Star Wars. Like we said, this was only available in Chile, and the rest of the world was completely clueless about it until it was brought to light on YouTube.
Sure, commercials are great and all for telling us things that we need to purchase the next time we go to the store, but when you keep slapping the Star Wars logo on a pack of Oreos and I keep putting it in my cart, my wife is going to get mad at me because we don't need Star Wars Oreos, but I tell her it's important. But to digress, we're going to talk about Star Wars video games next because you cannot go wrong with the commercials for these.
What would Star Wars video games be without an epic, compelling commercial? In a galaxy far, far away, we were able to imagine what it would be like to play as some of our favorite characters, or even get involved in some of the most important story moments.
A video game trailer is just as important as any commercial that you see on TV for something to be purchased in a store. Because if your video game trailer sucks, then no one is going to want to play your game. And this is true, in fact, for a lot of different Star Wars games, Star Wars Outlaws. But to ensure that some of Star Wars' best games succeeded to their fullest potentials, Lucasfilm pulled out the big guns on a couple of these projects that we're about to talk about.
It would be a crime not to talk about the biggest and most successful Star Wars game of all time, Battlefront. This game Jackson and I had spent countless hours in. This many to be exact.
These games just make you feel like you're being whisked away into the Star Wars universe and into some of its most important moments. And I think EA knew exactly what they were doing. With Battlefront 1's standout trailer features people disappearing from their ordinary, boring lives in which they're not really doing anything interesting, and it shows them all being teleported into the Battlefront during some of Star Wars' most epic battles, like on Hoth and on Endor, and even stuff on Tatooine. It just goes to show how it would just take you out of reality and put you in these awesome moments.
To say that the success of the game is also correlated with how successful the commercial was in having people feel like they were in Star Wars. At the time of its release, it was the most modern, cinematic, and beautiful Star Wars game released, which only helped its success. Then Battlefront 2 then tapped into our competitive sides with its Rivals trailer, showing us that we could stick it to our foes on the battlefront anytime, any day, any planet.
Now, if you've known our show for a while, you would know my very personal obsession with Jango Fett. Now, I was born in 2001, so the prequels and Clone Wars content is my Star Wars, but when I saw Jango Fett on the big screen, I thought he was just the coolest character ever. I want to let this commercial just play and speak for itself, but picture yourself in my shoes. You're just a little kid, had just watched Attack of the Clones with his brother for the first or second or 100th time at this point, and you see this commercial for a Jango Fett video game, and it just knocks your socks off.
You're Jango Fett, the most ruthless bounty hunter the galaxy has ever seen. Star Wars Bounty Hunter, rated T for teen.
Now, I don't know about you, but that gives me chills every time I watch it. It is just so awesome. It's anything I could have ever wanted from a Star Wars bounty hunter game, let alone about Jango Fett himself. It was just so cool. It made me want to play it immediately. And even when I did play it, I felt like I was a certified badass the entire time.
A lot of the commercials that we've shown you this far are mainly live action focused, but this commercial was so well done that I believed it was a live action picture. It was a movie. It was a work of art in the child's eyes of mine. I don't know if it was just the 3 days grace pumping in my veins or the Sonic AMVs I was watching, but the angsty, rage-filled character of Starkiller really spoke to me in 5th grade. And damn it, he still speaks to me now. Although this is another short commercial, it's so powerful in its message. So powerful, in fact, I begged my parents relentlessly to buy me this game so I could play it over and over again.
So honestly, the KOTOR trailers kind of fall into the same category as The Force Unleashed, where it's just so good and iconic. I feel like these are some of the Star Wars video game commercials that fans continuously go back to look at and just remember. You could show these commercials to someone who had never watched a Star Wars movie or show in their life, and they would have probably been convinced that this was one of the shows or movies that Disney maybe had produced. It is just that good in detail, in quality, in storytelling, and they're all only just a couple minutes long. It isn't a whole 10-minute long video explaining something away. It's just a quick, short, fun trailer that works. They're just a timeless cinema masterpiece. Now, although Jacob and I never played or cared for the KOTOR games, it made both of us appreciate the story that it tried to tell fans.
Trust only in the Force.
Last but certainly not least, we'll go to one of my favorite games of all time, the Jedi series. This commercial must have released around the time I stopped watching television because it's so fun and I just don't remember it. Featuring a young girl at her father's work, imagining she's Cal Kestis. Her dad's co-workers go along with the joke, and it really just shows off sometimes how we try to inject our everyday lives into these amazing stories that Star Wars gives us. She also totally smashes a window in her dad's office, and he's probably getting let off for that. So thanks, honey. No more dinner for a while. The scriptwriter really couldn't come up with a good title for this section, so we're just going to dedicate this to all the fun, wacky, memorable Star Wars commercials that we hold special in our heart.
Before the days of Disney Plus, how was a kid supposed to watch Star Wars? And the answer to that question was with Spike marathons on TV. Spike was infamous for running these Star Wars marathons around May or even just at random points in the year. These are a lot of core memories for me and my brother, and even my dad just sitting around to catch just bits and pieces of the movies whenever they were on, because this was the only way that you could see it if you didn't have the DVDs for them at all at the time. But to make these marathons even better, Spike had some of the most craziest commercials for it too. We're going to play a few bits and pieces because it seriously is not going to do justice if I talk to you about it on this.
No way. I'm not paying you. This is ridiculous. Every hole, it's the same crap.
Hey, don't. I wouldn't.
As you can see, these commercials are just fresh. It's something fun, and it's something that's just different in general. It incorporates Star Wars into our everyday lives, and I think that's what makes it the best, is kind of connecting this galaxy far, far away into what we might experience in a situation that we can have a good laugh about and enjoy. One can only wonder what life would have been like if we never had these awesome Spike marathons and someone showing Star Wars on the TV.
When most people think of a Star Wars commercial, this is what they think of. Aired during the 45th Super Bowl, it captivated people from around the nation with just how relatable it was. Trying to move household objects with the Force is something every kid and grown-ass man has tried to do, and if you say that you hadn't, you're lying. It was cute, clever, and it really captured the perfect childhood innocence that Star Wars really brings out in all of us.
Toys could have been its own category, but maybe that's just a video for another day. But Star Wars toy commercials were something else. And when I say something else, I'm trying to bring y'all back to the 2010s. Think about the Nerf commercials that Hasbro was putting together at the time, with the Captain Rex and clone helmets and the blasters that disassembled and reassembled. And the commercials were just fun and just gritty. They wanted you to go to war. They wanted you to be a clone. And even the lightsabers that they had at the time, they could retract and go back in fully. It was just peak Star Wars toys. This was the absolute greatest time to be purchasing toys and be a kid.
Nothing beats having such fun, awesome, and dynamic toys to bring the neighborhood battles into something out of a galaxy far, far away. With these super immersive pieces, this was the closest you were going to get to being a clone trooper until you spent thousands of dollars to join the 501st Legion, just so you could walk around a convention and have a bunch of people point at you and go, "Hey, look, it's Captain Rex."
Now, we couldn't end the video today without talking about one of the coolest Star Wars commercials to come out of this year, and that was Apple's Find Your Friends commercial, which featured Mandalorian cosplayers.
The commercial features a Mandalorian cosplayer using their iPhone locating feature to find the rest of their friends in a very packed convention. It was so down to earth and organic that it felt like a fan film online rather than being a professional commercial. For me, it invoked this feeling of nostalgia that made me really long for these days of fun Star Wars commercials. Coming off such an absolute banger of a commercial leaves us asking, what lies in store for us in the future of Star Wars commercials?
Now, after everything we talked about in the video today, where does that really leave us with Star Wars commercials going into the future? Now, I personally think that we're in good hands for that. Now, after the Apple commercial that we had for the Find Your Friends feature, and even some of the last couple live action commercials that we've had over the year, I think we are going to get some very good Star Wars commercials. Now, yes, we don't have a lot of Star Wars things that are coming out, but I would even like to hypothesize that before maybe the Mandalorian movie releases, or even Star Wars' next biggest video game, we're going to get some sort of a banger trailer that's going to accompany it. So I think we're going to be fine for commercials.
In conclusion, for me, this has just been such a fun video to make. Reliving childhood memories, seeing all these fun nostalgic commercials once again, just really makes me long for the days of being a kid again. Just sitting and watching Sunday cartoons and praying that my favorite commercials would come on, or surfing YouTube for the commercials I may have missed just to watch them one last time.
What's up, everybody? It's Jacob coming at you from the future. I'm sitting here. I'm just finishing editing this video, and I just want to say thank you to everybody for making it this far. This is something new for us, and it was a lot of fun to make. Shout out to Jackson for being the script writer, for doing a lot of the research, the compiling of lots of footage that you see in this, and getting the whole script written out. And I edited it. But I think it turned out great. I'm really happy with it. I really hope that you guys liked it. I'm really looking forward to doing a lot more content based like this coming up. I want to say that you could expect, if we do make a video drop like this, it's going to be on the 13th of the month, just to stay on brand. But thank you guys all for sticking with us for this channel for over 3 years now. We want to keep it moving, keep evolving, reach new audiences, meet new people, all that fun stuff. So please, if you like this, share it around. It would really mean the world to us. And thank you guys so much. Have a good day. May the force be with you. Always.